Welcome to the ASC live stream, coming live from my basement and his bedroom, which is ASC Colony headquarters, by the way. But welcome to the live stream, everybody that's with us. Brendan, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm all right.
And hello, Marty. How are you doing?
Marty is on it today.
He is. So, what have you been up to? Since Thursday when you were on here,
we have another COVID in our house, but other than that, first day of school for my kids today. Otherwise, same old, my friend.
All right. Well,
we've behind the scenes, we've been working on our list. We'll probably go into that later towards the end of the live stream, kind of like what we were talking about on the Thursday live stream.
Yeah.
But that's we've been working on that. And
with that, if you didn't catch the Thursday live stream, it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's also on the podcast too if you want to check it out there. So,
yeah.
Hey, Glenn, how's it going?
Glenn, we haven't seen you in a while, my friend.
I know, man. Where you been?
So, today's topic, engineering.
We got a couple. There's something else I want to cover first, though, before we get into that. Yeah.
Little housekeeping is what you're saying?
No, but there was some other pretty big news in the ocean front was ocean builders this week.
I know what you're going towards. Yes, yeah. Go for it.
So I don't know who was able to catch it or not, and it's still available out there. But ocean builders Monday morning showed off all the information about their sea pods, and let me go ahead and bring it up here so you guys can see what's going on, because it was super cool.
We are live, Ron Peters.
Hey, Ron, how's it going? We're going to talk about ocean builders here really quick and what they're doing. So, as you can see, they've got 4 different models. Basically, they're the same thing, either on water or on land. And then if you click on each one, you can reserve. So this is their signature series, $400,000, a rental for $595 a night, which is dirt cheap for something like this. Or they've got this fractional ownership for $100. So they didn't really go too much into that because it's still being developed, but you can do all these things right now. So they said that, or the other one, which personally I kind of like the looks of it a little bit better. It's cleaner, I guess, but whatever. That's $300,000. That was the same amount, and then the same thing for the ones if you want to on land or not. But
we should try to see if we can get one of those guys on one of the live streams soon, so they can kind of go in depth on some of it.
Yeah. So anyway, but they said that if you haven't watched it, I'll recap real quick. They said they're only going to be selling them and putting them in Panama until 2024. That's subject to change for testing purposes, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was really cool. It was 30 minutes long, so it's not very long. They didn't really go into too much, but they did show them both in the water. So they're out there. They're going to start rentals, I think, almost immediately, and they're taking reservations and start building them. And so it's pretty exciting. Lots of stuff going on with that. I thought that was really cool. And
and I don't think, but I mean, they have they showed the actual one, right? Like not just the 3D models.
No, they're both of them. They have the signatures here and the eco. Both of them were there. They're both built. They're both in the water. They were still working on they were there, and that the internals were. It's like their video. They're live from inside the eco, and you can see they didn't have any furnishing and stuff like that in it yet. Babe said he's already watched it. Yeah, it's good. Ron says he'll take 2. And where can you put them? So, right at first they're just shallow water. So pretty much anywhere it's shallow water. They said they're going only, like I said, until 2024 more or less. They're going to keep them in Panama. Once again, no hurricane issues there and stuff along those lines. And then they're already talking with other locations. I think there's a podcast that one guy was on, that actually the guy who hosted the whole thing, most of it. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was talking on the podcast they just did with the Seasteading Institute, and it was kind of reading between the lines type of thing, that they're working with different hotel chains, resort chains, and stuff along those lines too. So But doing the math on the thing, you get one for $300,000. $600 changes a little bit, but if you could, you can make your money back in a year on that thing. So,
yeah, I think that's the most impressive part, is because you look at these and you'd think that they would be so much more expensive than that. For such a unique type of living, and it's decent living space too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it's very impressive.
Yeah. So I just wanted to touch base on that because it was kind of big news here that was going on this week. I'm sure it's been heavily covered and most people knew about it, but still, it's fun to talk about. But yeah, no. Otherwise, it was like the beginning of the month we did a live stream, and just general chit chat came up, and we started talking about construction ideas and stuff like that. And I said, let's have a live stream about it. So here's a live stream talking about it. Now there's several areas I wanted to break down, but it was the external construction, the depth rating and how that changes your construction aspects, the basic design aesthetics, externally and internally, how you're going to get to it. And then the other stuff that doesn't usually get talked about too much when talking about it, but all the topside support that's required and not required to do that. So I think this is going to be a very interactive episode tonight. So we've got a lot of people in here, a lot of knowledgeable people in here too. So let's get to it. So starting off, starting into in the past, almost all the habitats have been made straight from steel. They're all cylinder tubes for the most part, except for, Cousteau, he had a little bit different there. Before we get into that, Babe's got something here. My initial thought is that they really set a standard for the upcoming market. Yeah. And they've been talking a lot about that as far as there's been some memes and stuff like that they've been sharing around between the on the seasteading stuff and ocean builders about pretty much of that. Because like Adam and we were just talking yesterday, it's like, people have been talking about, doing this for a long time, and nobody ever thought, at least, that it acted like it would never get done. And then here they are. Now, they did have a lot of financial backing, but they're very smart as well. They did an incubator, which I think is really what brought a lot of the tech and the notoriety to it too, because they were able to build this sweet network of very smart people with all these different ideas, bringing their startup ideas to ocean builders. And so that's where they got a lot of the toilet system is an incinerator that they did talk a little about. Now there's a whole lot more they did share, which Babe saw this too. But like the toilet, like all the water gets recycled. The gray water gets put back into, it gets purified and put back into sinks and all that kind of stuff. The black water gets, the waste gets incinerated and the water gets cleaned and put back into the toilets. They got a desalination plus a remineralization plant in each one of them. So it's creating all its own water. It's got solar panels. It's completely, it is what we strive to do underwater. They're doing there above too.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Glenn. We like to think so. Glenn says you got a pretty decent group following you as well. Yeah, the difference between our following and theirs is they set up an incubator, and basically if you have a startup that you're wanting to, it's basically open license what you've got. You can come in there. You could either get funding or you get help from other people trying to work on those projects with them. So they had a whole entire database of all these different ROVs and the smart technology, because you wear a ring in the thing, and the ring keeps all your information of where you're going, what you're doing, and stuff like those, all your presets. So there's all these different technologies that they're putting into the sea pods came from all these different people with the ideas and stuff like that. So that's really what helped them as well. Yeah, Marty, I don't know the details. He says better be a very good charcoal filter for the water. I'm not sure what they're doing, but obviously they're pretty confident in whatever technology they're doing. My guess is it's probably something completely different than charcoal filter.
Like I said, I think it would be a good idea to see if we could get someone from their group to come on and because I think a lot of people have questions like that maybe some of it didn't get covered in that.
Yeah.
And we could talk with them about it, and because like you said, they're confident in whatever they got going on that maybe we don't know the details of.
What I like about too is a lot of the technology they've now developed and stuff like that. We can hopefully license or use or get a hold of as well. Because whatever they're using, we're going to need to use too for the most part. The only difference is we're below water and they're above it, which gives some pros and cons both ways for those different technologies. But yeah, it's very exciting. I'm very curious to see over the next year or so how this grows, because they're already talking about down the road what else they're wanting to do. So yeah. But yeah, I agree. I think right now they're going to be probably swamped with all different news because CNN reported on them. They're getting picked up by a bunch of different news agencies right now, so they're probably swamped right now with people trying to interview them.
But I mean, to get on the Atlanta Sea Colony live stream, I mean, that's prime time, baby.
Yeah, I mean Marty's even been on here, so I mean, yeah, only the best of the best to get on here. But no. Yeah, if you have any other questions about it, let me see if I can find that link to the. Yeah, here it is. I'll throw this in the chat here. Anybody can go watch the video there. Yeah, you can go watch that video, and it answers pretty much everything I know at this point in time. So. Versus. Thank you, just for once, though. So yeah, back to, unless people have more questions, unless we can always dive back into the ocean builders thing. But so talking about design of an underwater habitat and where we stand with the whole thing too, because really there's some questions that are up in the air on it too. Obviously, steel has been what's used for most of them in the past.
Stainless steel, correct?
No.
Or because doesn't regular steel rust?
That's why you have to have, like, what are they called? They're like the cathodes that sit on it that pull all the oxidation away from the steel.
Gotcha.
I can't remember what they're called. They have a name. That's what they've used in the past. Or you got to be out there cleaning it all the time. But yeah, stainless steel is ideal, but it's more expensive. Where steel is cheap, it's thick, it does its job. Is that what they're called? Zincs. I think I've heard another term for them, but that may be what they're referred to as well.
I think that's what Shaggy would say in Scooby-Doo.
That's whatever. I think that Glenn's like, yep, no, steel painted and maintained, yeah. Because it's cheap, it's thick, it's easy, and it's readily available, and it does the job. And there's not as many issues like that. So the steel is always an option, but there's so many different technologies out there. Stainless steel is also another one because it doesn't rust. You have to worry about the weld areas and stuff along those lines. You keep that clean, you're pretty good on it as well. Concrete is when it keeps on coming up over and over again. And it has.
Yeah, I personally like the concept of concrete.
So this is something I have talked to people for 20 years on concrete, and I just can't get behind it. And until somebody shows me really good evidence on why concrete is good, I just have a hard time jumping in the whole concrete bandwagon.
Your difference, and sorry to cut you off.
Was it zinc anodes? Yes, that's what is the anode aspect. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Ron.
To me, you're being able to, when it comes to like forming your design, you're going to have a lot more luck with concrete, and it's going to be a lot cheaper than steel is. Because steel, especially when you start needing a certain level of thickness and the amount that you need, and then the fabrication of it, like having to do all the bending, the drilling, and whatever it might be, all the little things you're going to have to do to it, that's going to be a lot more expensive. However, I do think when it comes to like toughness, it's going to be better. I mean, don't get me wrong, concrete is a super strong substance anyways, but I mean, but you'd have to have something pretty significant hit something concrete to to damage it. But the downfall is if something were to damage it, I mean, it cracks it open really, and it kind of like crumbles it in a sense. Whereas like if you had like a steel structure, it's gonna like hit it and it's probably gonna put a big dent in it or something like that. But like I said, you'd also need something super significant to do either one of those things.
Yeah. And so we got a bunch of stuff in here about that. Ron saying, done correctly, concrete strengthens over time. Yeah. And I guess
hold on, let me mute myself here.
So yeah, so I guess I looked at past designs. There were so many different points of entry or design elements. I was concerned on those gaps and how to seal those, and if there was a crack or something along those lines was my problem in the past. I'll talk a little bit why some of my concerns aren't as valid as they used once we're here in a second as I get through some of these. Glenn's like, concrete will work with proper mix and care, a lot more upkeep, but you can let stuff grow on it. Yeah, and there's Secrete and that people keep on talking about. I've asked for people to send me more information on that, and I have yet to hear anything from those people. Ron's got, so engineering will be dictated first whether it's ambient pressure, one atmosphere, or hybrid. Also, the depth of the habitat will dictate the engineering. These are two major for influencing the engineering of the structure itself. If you're going to make an ambient pressure habitat, you can make it just out anything. Right, and that's kind of one of the points I was going to get to as well later, was that your depth does dictate what we make it out of. Obviously, for Atlantis Sea Colony, most of them are going to be one atmosphere. There may be some that are hybrid, but for the general, they're designed with the one atmosphere in mind. Let me put it that way, so that obviously the thickness and the hull integrity is going to be a little bit more stout. When we start looking at, let me bring it up here, the later designs. Here, I got thinking this all external shell, the cylinder could all be concrete because there's only 2 points of entry, which is both ends. Otherwise, there is no other entry points, no other breaks anywhere. So like it would probably be very simple for steel or for concrete. Plus, then you get your advantage of all the weight with the concrete as well. So that's why I'm thinking concrete might work for that. Although I'm still not saying that there could be different polymers, different plastics, different printing techniques, 3D printing techniques too, that could come into play as costs come down, because we're still a few ways away from that design there, several years away. Oh, it depends on funding. I mean, I could be there tomorrow if somebody dropped me a couple $1 million, but yeah, I agree. I think that's one reason why steel has always been used in the past, because they were always designed for such depth as well. And at first we're not looking to go. It's probably 3 or 4 atmospheres at the most, unless there's some business application that needs to go deeper. But for most people, but yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, look at underwater tunnels for engineering. And Glenn's got what? Acre Golf Marine makes their own cylinders of 20 feet in diameter, 1-inch steel. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I'm still torn on it. Is there a right answer? Probably, maybe not. I think it comes down to personal preference. Steel has been a tried and true use for the underwater habitats in the past, so it makes the most sense.
When you think about it, you could almost compare it to like the siding of a house, really. Some people go with just regular, have like wood siding that's painted. Some people have steel siding. Some people have the whatever. It's not, I don't want to say plastic, but that kind of material. And at the end of the day, they all work. It's just a matter of what you're looking for purpose, longevity, and what it's supposed to hold up against and all that. So like you said, there might not be a wrong, there's going to be wrong answers. Like, we're not going to build out of wood, but there's definitely, I think there's a few right answers too.
Yeah. And once again, I think a lot too is, especially if you go into mass production of something, cost comes into play too. And the speed at which you can turn around, and then maintenance on top of it too, because you're not going to want to have to be going out there. If something can last 6 months without being touched versus 1 month, you're going to want to do that too. So in that aspect, maybe concrete becomes the better option. Glenn's saying too. Yeah, cost factor will probably be a primary consideration. Adam's correct. Many materials will work. Just how much you want to spend.
I'll take a screenshot of that. I don't get told that very often.
Yeah, and I guess wood could work if you put lots of water seal on
it. Even then.
Yeah, but no. So I say if anybody's got information, because I say one guy emailed me one time and he was talking about he had a lot of information about Secrete and concrete and using and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, send me your information. He never did get back with me. So I've read several different articles over the years on it. Yeah. Shoot me some information. I'd be glad to read it over.
Envisioned, and I think I've talked to you about it before, is like that being able to, with concrete, I feel like you'd have a lot more repeatability and manufacturability out of it. Like if you had like certain molds and, depending on how you had your workspace set up, that I think it would be like when it comes to manufacturing it, quicker and more repeatable with less processes in it when it comes to like if we're going to consistently keep building them.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I say, you can say the same thing for steel too, because and that same thing with 3D printing. If 3D printing drops in price and it's, you're able to do something out of whatever, what's the cheapest way of going? Mm-hmm. And still maintaining the safety element too. That's going to be the big thing. You can't cut costs and make it flimsy. So yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at right now, is steel and acrylic for everything as well. So once again, for the pure reason that it's tried and true, we know it works, we know how it works, we know how well it works. So I think that especially from a requirement of getting it, registered or anything like that, it's probably going to be easier to do as well. Less R&D on it as well. So. And we covered kind of the depth rating on it too. When we look at the business sector, we may be going deep. It kind of depends. For the leisure, the luxury element of the thing, if people, for resorts, for vacation, for private homes and stuff along those lines, you're not going to be more than an atmosphere or two deep. It's just, there's not much, people aren't going to want to go that deep.
Well, right, because after so far down, it gets a little bit darker, and then that kind of hinders your view and everything too.
And especially for people for the first time, I think being that deep too, it's psychological too. You want to be able to still see the surface easy enough. Yeah. It gives you probably a psychological advantage of stuff too. But
yeah, if you were to look out and you're like, man, it's a long way up there.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. So Jules, if anything goes wrong, I can hold my breath. Not hold my breath, but I can get to the top. Yeah. Ron's like, yeah, we have decades of knowledge in building undersea things out of steel. Exactly. Glenn says all considerations will often be dictated by the governing body that oversees the area of the planet you place it in. And yeah, that's why. That's why steel, in my gut, is probably the way we're going to have to go, especially at first. Marty says, "This diver wonder that a lot." I agree. What Glenn's saying. Not me. I can stay down there for a really long time. Right. Well, for us divers and stuff like that, it's not a big deal. But I'm saying, most of these people aren't going to be divers that are coming down there.
Tourist.
Yeah. And that's the, once again, the whole core and my whole focus behind Atlantis Icon has always been opening it up to the majority of people who are willing to want to stay underwater. Some people just are terrified of the ocean or terrified of water, aren't going to do it no matter what, no matter how cool and how easy it is to get in. But the last thing I want to do is, especially at first, is put one more element of fear into somebody. no matter how safe it is, they're always going to be concerned.
Yeah.
And once again, you can have down the road, we can have multi ones at different levels too for the person that really wants to go extreme on the whole thing too.
And maybe it's one of those things too. I mean, they brought up a good point, is that depending on the governing body of like where these things go, they might be like, hey, we're not putting anything that's concrete out here, or like we're not going to let you put anything steel, or we're not going to let you put anything of this type of material out there. So then maybe it's good to have options with it too, where it's like, okay, we can have a steel shell, we can have a concrete shell, and having customization is going to be a good factor to it too.
Yeah, Marty's asking where the surface is, just so we have a reference. Are you saying that in general, or he's just asking? Because it will determine that as well. Ron got here. Remember that whatever you make it out of, it will need to be certified if you want to get insurance. Exactly, and that's what I was saying. The registration purposes, the insurance purposes of it are going to be a whole other issue too. And again, with steel, it gets certified, registered, insured all the time. So another check mark on the whole choice for steel. And like I say, everybody said you can paint it, you can do whatever you want with it. The only thing is the general upkeep of it, and even then, that's been addressed. And there's technologies out there, zinc, like we've mentioned before, zinc anodes, and just general maintenance. So I think we have a winner, guys. I think we've solved the problem right here.
But we have ruled out wood for sure.
Yeah, and cardboard. And roomy for those who are not. So Marty's talking about the where the distance is and big and roomy. That's the thing also with what's existed before, is except for Jules, which Jules was still pretty roomy, but everybody complains about. I've heard multiple people complain about Aquarius being a sardine can pretty much, or being compact, and except for Tektite and the Conshelf ones were rather roomy. But most of them have not been that roomy. So, we got to make sure that it's what I say. The final version, obviously the prototype is going to be a little rougher, but the final version has got to be non-claustrophobic and has to be what people are used to on a day-in and day-out basis.
Yeah. You got to make it just as comfortable as like a common hotel room in a sense, because something that people are used to. Yeah,
actually, absolutely. Babes says, I still have this picture in my mind of the cartoon character Buster Lung with his finger in a hole in the concrete and his diving gear is out of reach. Well, I have no idea who Buster Lung is. And you're not that much older than me, babe, so I don't know what you've been watching. But yeah. Ron's got, you can have steel and acrylic units built in the shipyard and float them out to the site and then sink them. Yeah, that's actually the kind of my thinking of how it will all play out is that even though that one video we have shows them on a ship and stuff like that, I think we can float them out, and as long as it's not too far out, and just sink them that way. I think that's going to make the most cost-effective sense, because it's going to be probably neutral. It'll be neutrally buoyant anyway, so it's not going to be sinking until you add the ballast to it. So Glenn says, you guys build it. I'll stay there for first year and work out the bugs.
Is your family going to be okay with that? Like, you just get down there for an entire year? They coming with you?
And we'll have to make two then, because you'll be, unless we're staying together, because, I have had dreams of sleeping in the sucker. So, but depth is once again another issue. So, 1 or 2 atmospheres, we're looking at 30, 60 feet, more or less. The prototype will be under 30 foot just to test out everything. So, what the heck?
Glenn's bringing his wife, and we're about good.
Okay. And then Marty's got one here. He's got, I saw the picture of the interior of the underwater home in Hello Down. Yeah. That's it's very retro. Yeah, Glenn, I'm sure your wife would love it. And Marty's bringing his wetsuit. That's what Rod's got. Using shipyards has the advantage that the shipyards already have the knowledge, skills, slicks, and equipment to build these things. I agree. I think that at first we're going to have to, down the road, it would be nice to have our own manufacturing facility to be able to build them. But obviously at first we're not going to have the money, the know-how, or anything along those lines to do that. So we will have to rely on the shipyards to do that.
It's one of the reasons why we'll have a higher startup cost, because like a lot of it in the very beginning is probably going to have to be contracted. We can't just right out the gate buy all of our own, equipment and all that stuff to, every little piece of machinery that you would need to make it, you can't buy right out the gate. You'd have to like I said, contract it and, have it, other people put together some of the stuff for you. That way you can prove it out and do all that. And then it's like, okay, we can figure out the cost now. Is it something that is practical to build in your own facility? Is it something that you consistently, like I said, contract out to other places and have certain vendors take care of it? Or, I'm just looking at it from that standpoint. But at the same time, you also want people that are have a history of working on that kind of thing, even if maybe it's not underwater habitats, but marine structures, I guess you could say. People that have experience with that and have the equipment to deal with that type of, I guess, manufacturing.
Yeah. And I see a lot of this is going to ultimately boil down to, like with most things in life, it's all on who you know, as far as all that kind of stuff too, as far as making all of this come to fruition. The company I met with over in Houston several years ago, the marine engineering company, that was one thing they were talking about, and using the seller services, they had contacts with, they have the shipping companies, they have all the everything. Once they get the designs designed to build the habitat too, which is a great selling point, because they're a big company, and obviously they had all those things. And Babe, why are you on Facebook and YouTube? But Babe's
trying to get us more views.
Yeah, I think so. Babe says Proteus is going to set a standard for rooming if ASC doesn't. True, but Proteus is also going to be ambient pressure, and so you're going to be saturated, where we're not shooting for that. And then on YouTube, Babe says, talking about Buster Long about being a comic strip character based on real life events from divers and the things they face in the job. Glenn, we have several big rig builders in Ingleside, Texas, 3 miles from where I stay. I know some folks there that build the world's largest rigs. Glenn keeps on trying to get me down there. I mean, at this point in time, there's not much Glenn can say at this point in time that hasn't proven the case. So I need to move to Texas. So yeah, I don't know. Ron says an advantage of building, then transporting and sinking is that each unit can be fully outfitted and just connected when you get in place. 100%. That's yeah, because I mean, once again, that's a huge cost saving as well, and that's kind of how I envision it is working. Is to you take it out there, you sink it, you attach it to the main backbone or the main structure or the other habitat, and you turn on power, water, and you're good to go. So yeah, that's really the way I see this playing out from a modular standpoint. And then in case anything happens to that pod, you can detach it, send it back up to the surface, and bring another one out and reattach it, type of thing too. So I think there's a lot of advantages. Once again, in my mind, there's a lot of advantages and a lot of cost saving by doing it that way, with the modularity and the replaceability of it, because it can constantly be upgraded over time too, by doing that. And I say, if I always use the example of a home. As a home grows, you can add on more rooms, and same thing with this. You could add on more pods to it. I think I said before, in my mind, the initial one has got a backbone. It's got one pod for living, probably another pod for like sleeping, and then one pod for all your HVAC, energy generation storage, all that kind of stuff in a third one. So, and he's got that backbone that joins them all together. That's kind of how I see it in my head. But once again, we've seen that tiny houses can all exist within the size of 140-foot shipping container, so we can make them compact if we need to. And Glenn says, "Come on, dude. I think I just need to take a vacation down there, if nothing else, just to hang out and see what you got going on down there."
Well, you said you'd like to make a trip down there for when they do the Starship thing.
True. I can kill two birds with one stone then.
There you go.
Marty says, "I'm not going to saturate dive anytime soon, so tiny house looks good to me." I agree. That's what I'm saying as well. I wouldn't mind doing it once, but it wouldn't be something I'd want to do for a long period of time, especially in something along those lines. When we're not doing it for scientific purposes, we're doing it just for general livability and business purposes. Unless there's a reason to be saturated, we can design around it, and they have designed around it. So, one thing we haven't talked about, well, we kind of did, was the basic design aesthetics, and we're kind of getting into that now too, as far as about how it looks when we're talking about tiny houses and stuff along those lines. I think the biggest detriment to underwater habitats for the general population and to other people is that you can't just walk outside. And I think a lot of people want that freedom. So you're going to have different scenery, different areas. So that's one thing with having a modular approach, where until we've got the money, the technology, whatever, to build giant domed underwater habitats, that have tons of space to walk and do what you need to do. You need to have exercise room, walking area, whatever, to let people, not feel so compacted, stuck into place. Because like I say, if I had to stay in Jules, even as much room as they had in there, if I had to stay in Jules for a couple weeks or something along those lines, you'd start to probably get a little stir crazy. And I'm a hermit, so that doesn't even bother me. But I'm saying I think that'd probably get on me after a while, and I'm not the average person there. So most people that will be experiencing these are people who like to get out and do stuff. So Marty says, "Look up the Discovery Cove Lagoon Walk." Babe, haven't you done that? Somebody I think in here has done that.
Sorry.
But yeah, that's pretty cool too. Babes, Ron says, "Lots of window looking out on a coral garden." I agree, and I think that's one of the things we'll add into the thing too, is the ability to, we have to generate our own coral or own lives, flora and fauna and stuff like that. Get the fish to come in and get the beauty and stuff like that, and that's one of the selling points to underwater habitat is.
Sorry.
What are you doing?
I was trying to find something, but I was trying to mute it at the same time, and I couldn't do it. Sorry.
Anyway, we'll mute it next time.
Sorry. Later on, I was gonna show a video, but so I just wanted.
No, because we'll get copyright infringed every time you show a video.
It's my video, so we're not okay. Copyright infringed.
So we definitely need the core out there. And it's one of the things we can use as far as a marketing standpoint of being ecological too, that we are adding back to the environment around us, which is a big question that keeps on coming up every time we talk about this. Well, people will send messages like, "Stop destroying the ocean. We already do too much damage to it." Well, we can use this to say, we're going to temporarily disrupt things by putting this down there, but the long-term effects of what we're doing is adding back to the environment and also educating people, because they're able to come down there and see this on a firsthand basis. I think that is a value that often gets missed when talking about underwater habitats or underwater anything.
And when you think about it too, because it is a controversial thing to some people. And to me, it's just like, would you rather be able to go out and experience it firsthand and be able to see it firsthand? Or would you only want to be able to go to zoos and aquariums? And don't get me wrong, I love going to zoos and aquariums and all that, and the good ones are great. But being able to experience that firsthand, see everything in its, the natural habitat. And like you said, that should inspire people more to be like, this is something that needs to be important. This is something that needs to be protected. And being able to, once again, build it the right way, we can make it be a part of the ecosystem in a sense. Like a lot of those will grow its own coral on it. It'll like create a necessary part of the environment for the marine life. Yeah, sure. When you drop it the very first day, yeah, it's going to scare them away for a little bit. But guess what? They're going to come right back, and like within a day, it's like this. As long as like, and we would never just be like, all right, let's tear up all that coral so we can bring this down there. Like, no, we're gonna be responsible with how this works. We've always said that.
Yeah. And like Ron says here, the structure itself becomes an artificial reef, right? And that's one of the other things too. Is one of the other things I've always envisioned is you're going to have a TV in there, or you're at a TV wall that you can have ROVs that you control, and you can go and you can look around your place that you're living and see what all the life that's going on there, or you just have mounted cameras outside looking at different aspects of the habitat, so you can be seeing everything. Even if you can't see it out the window, you can see other aspects of what's going on. And Babe's got a good point there too. By living on the seafloor, drag nets wouldn't be allowed in that area, and the sea life would be safe. Yeah. Plus, you're not going to have probably cut down all types of different situations like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ron says, within 48 hours, you'll have fish moving in. Within a year, you have sponges, etc., growing. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you think about it, like you said, we've had people come to us and be like, "Oh, this is just going to destroy everything." Well, does like a responsible camper, like the campers that like will go out into the middle of like the forest to like do their camping, are they destroying the environment? No, but like they're living amongst it and they're just being responsible about it. Like, so it's just like, it's the same concept except for water's involved. So.
Yeah. It's like the whole tiny house movement is a lot of them are very much trying to get off the grid and be more in touch with nature and stuff along those lines. And I think we're very homogenous with that whole movement there too, because we're kind of the same thing. We're just, we're just trying to do our own thing. We're, yeah. I lost kind of like my train of thought went off the rails there a little bit, but you know what I'm saying.
Nah, I mean.
Yeah. So yeah, once again, I just think people are too narrow-minded sometimes with this stuff, and they hear what the news is always saying about how we're destroying the oceans and stuff. Yes, we dump too much garbage and stuff in there, but we have opportunities where we can do so much more and do so much good work too, even with at the same time of having fun too, with leisure and even with businesses too. That is a core of Atlantis Sea Colony that we're not going to clear cut the oceans per se, as we would do here on land. And we have to be ecologically mindful moving forward.
And not to make it a political thing, so I'm going to choose my words carefully, but it's not us that is causing the most damage. There's certain countries that are doing a lot worse damage. Like us here in the States and like Central America, we can do better. But when you think of like the majority of that pollution, it is not like the vast majority does not come from North America, Central America. It's coming from other places that have zero regard to it. And it's like, that needs to be accounted for too, but we don't want people thinking like it's us that's destroying it, when it's like we have a whole other situation that's got to be dealt with too.
Right. Yeah, Glenn's got a good point here. He says, "Don't let anyone talk y'all are being in the lead for the future of Water Planet. Naysayers will always whine and cry how bad you're doing and something against what they think. If everyone stopped this journey due to what we wouldn't be where we're today with the knowledge and responsible advancements."
Well, that just reminds me of like what you and I were talking about last night, how there was a bunch of people that were upset about Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, like that they're spending money on space like exploration, and people complain about it. It's like I'm
glad we don't know anybody like that.
Huh?
I'm glad we don't know anybody like that.
Yeah, I know one. but it's the same thing. Like people will always find something that they don't, or that they think that you could put people always have a better idea for your time and your money and your resources.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that if you don't like it, don't put your money for it.
Yeah.
I had literally had people
look
laugh in my face over this idea for years. And Adam has been there through some of my depression periods of this whole thing too. And just be real with you guys. I take most news very much to heart when I see somebody else talking about what they're doing with the underwater habitat and stuff along those lines. I take it personally that we're failing, we're falling behind, stuff along those lines. And it puts me in a funk almost every time. So I try not to watch news, but at the same time, I want to be on the cusp of what's going on out there in this, because I'm so passionate about wanting to build underwater habitats. So it is a love-hate relationship sometimes. But comments like that, Glenn, thank you very much. That's super kind of you to say.
To have those people watch Sequest.
Yeah. So Ron says researchers indicate that conservation terms, damage is caused by transient people. Local people do more to conserve and protect the ecology because they're actually a part of the ecology. Exactly. And I said that's why I think that once we start getting more habitats in the water, people are going to want to take care of what they're seeing day in and day out. Right now, you throw a piece of trash out into the river or lake, it floats away. It's out of sight, out of mind. But if you're faced with it day in and day out, whether it's your home, whether it's your vacation spot, whether it's your business, you're probably going to take care of it a little bit better. So yeah, along those same lines there. And Ron also says we protect and conserve what we love and what we feel a part of. Kind of what I was just saying too. Marty's saying, why does he just hear the cartoon Sea Lab 2020 theme in his head and just have those people watch Sequest? Yeah. We still need to do a Sequest watch party. Ron says, you're not failing. People have wanted to fly for thousands of years. They finally last century. Yeah. Thank you. And that's one of the things too, is I tell myself that, when I was really pushing hard for this in the early 2000s, I'm glad I didn't find an investor. I'm glad that I didn't have the knowledge and reach that I have now, because my designs back then were horrendous. At the time, I thought they were amazing, but I didn't have a solid business plan. I just wanted to build an underwater hotel. And that's why I was reaching out to people at that point in time. And over the past 20 years of just talking and networking with people and putting my, getting in, people know one of my past jobs was I was in IT, and I helped start up an IT business and then helped run it for 15 years. That business knowledge that came from that has helped fine tune some of the business goals of what we're doing and stuff along those lines too. So it's just growth as a person and growth of technology and knowledge has put Atlantis Sea Colony into the best spot I think it's ever been, with a solid business plan, solid designs, and a focus on what we need to do going forward. So thank you very much, Ron. Yes, those reassuring words. And what Marty says, and people are bringing back the airships. That's true. I was just talking to somebody the other day about that. About airships are talking about having to come back too. So it all goes for, huh?
Like blimps?
Yeah. Huh. It all goes full circle. So last two things I was going to talk about real quick were how to get to the habitat, and then what we don't always talk about, because it's not the sexy part of the whole thing, is the topside support. Getting to it, that you're limited, either your scuba dive. My personal favorite is a submersible that docks with the habitat, or you have to have some kind of elevator or a tunnel system to get to it. All those are feasible for different environments. Like I said, there are going to be people who, no matter where we put this thing, are probably going to want to have the experience of diving down to it. So that's why I'm all about having the potential of a hybrid habitat that has like a lockout where you dive down to it, you come up in it, or you come into it. As one of the our members in their Discord was talking about how he saw the door on the end of one of those, which was meant to be a door that locks into the thing. But if you put that on both sides, you just swim through a door, go in there, it pumps all the water out, and then you go in. So yeah, you have an airlock for those people. So some people are going to want to dive down to it no matter what. But I think for the majority of the people, they're not going to want to get wet. So you're going to have that. Most people have, most of the other underwater hotels that you've seen out there, whether it's Poseidon or Planet Ocean or whatever, they've got a elevator or a stair system going down to it or an elevator. Personally, I think that kind of gives away where you're at type of thing. I don't know why I'm being so secretive about where my underwater habitat is, but it's a feasible option. And or a tunnel that's coming in from land if you're not too far out and use come into it. I obviously want to go all sci-fi here and go extreme with a submarine that docks to the thing. But once again, you look at the space station and we're basically mirroring what they do right now is you send a shuttle up to it docks to it and so forth and so on.
Well, we did just post that article yesterday that they're trying to make like personal subs and stuff like that more affordable.
Yeah.
Like they want to make them more, so they're more common and more affordable to people. So that's absolutely a possibility in not just the distant future, but the near future.
Yeah. Yeah, like Juan said, it depends on the depth and location, right? And so that's to say, you're not going to be able to have a elevator or a stair system on one that's, I guess you could 100 feet down, but nobody's going to want to climb that sucker. So that's where you come into submersible is almost, or a tunnel system with like a hyperloop or a tram system or something that's going down to it. Once again, that's a huge investment versus a $1 million submarine that's just retrofitted with a docking collar on it type of thing. Like Marty says, like a Trident submarine, they're one that makes some really good ones like that as well. Glenn's got, we have many folks that have made their own personal submarines more than you think. Right. There's a huge community of that. I'm trying to think of some of the names off the top of my head, but that have made submarines. Look at Doc Rowe, that he made the Vash, the Bionic Dolphin, and some other people like that. The Graham Hawk's Deep Flight, stuff along those lines. Ron says topside support can be done several ways. Traditionally, a boat or floating platform topside near the site works. Yeah, so you look at here we got more. If you're near shore, you can base your support on land and run umbilical to the habitat. Yeah, Glenn, Hank Pronk's one that I was thinking of. Ron, 100%. That's what I'm thinking, especially for the prototype. It's going to be close to shore. It's going to be all topside support. So I'm not too concerned about that one. You'll just have umbilicals running down to it, similar to how Jules does theirs. Ron's got another option is to use an old oil or gas platform set up near the site and use it for. I've heard that suggested a lot to even just build off of the thing too. Your habitat off of one of the legs or something along those lines too. And then it's Aquarius that has like a buoy sitting up topside that has a generator and everything on it for communication and power and stuff along those lines. Ideally, obviously, down the road, once again, we're talking down the road, is it generates its own everything. The only thing you'd have to worry about is your communication to the outside world.
Which they're improving on too, right?
Which they are. I've talked to a couple different companies about that, the different technologies out there and how that works. So worst case scenario, you run a buoy up to a Starlink terminals floating on the surface type of thing.
I think 90% of the time, I'm willing to bet that like for like commercial use and like recreational use, like say they're like at a resort or something like that, more than likely they're going to just hardline it to the surface. They're probably just going to like run a cable along the bottom to the mainland because they're not going to put it terribly far away because they still want it close to like their property, obviously. But I mean, you look at like say like your data center options, your research options where maybe you are going to be a little more isolated, a little bit further out, then probably your buoy option would probably be your best bet. But like you said, it would be awesome that further down the road that you have everything that you need right down there. Like you can do, harness like the current, to generate your power or whatever it may be and then be completely self-sustained.
Yeah. Ron was saying here, my personal favorite is the build in an atoll lagoon and base support on their shore, and I'm running umbilicals. So yeah, one of my weird hobbies is I'm always shopping for private islands. I randomly like go check out what a private island's running for, because I'm like, that's the thing. You buy a private island and just base all your operations off that, and just then you own everything. It's all good and you're good to go. So yeah, very similar. That is ideal, because especially with an atoll and stuff like this, you've got a controlled environment and a beautiful environment too. So if you know where one's available, I will be contacting them now, but I will. Babe says, I like the idea of a retractable floating support platform, and that might be practical, but I think it could work as a backup system, and if not full time. And Marty's comment here about the Starlink and or cell tower support. So one thing we didn't talk about is our friendship with the Seasteaders, and they fill in this gap as well, because they're all focused on, being on the surface, floating on the surface and stuff along those lines. And we've had multiple conversations in private with different seasteading companies about possibly down the road some kind of partnership there, where they are tethered to the surface and we are there for whatever it may be, whether it's energy storage, whether it's case of a storm, they can come down there as like a fallout shelter, not fallout shelter, but a bunker per se. So there's a lot of, once again, a marriage there that can be a potential possibility too down the road, especially now with ocean builders. Hey, some kind of something there along those lines too. So yeah, I think Ron keeps on hitting the hammer on the nail on the head here with the whole thing. All of this is really dependent on depth and location with everything we've talked about here. And I think that's really going to make the determining factor on how we move forward on a lot of this. Like I say, my personal is I've told Adam this multiple times. I lived in Guatemala for 6 years. So Central America, as much as I hated it, being there at the time, it still has a soft spot for me. So it's one of those things where Belize or Honduras, because you've got they got the second largest reef in the world, there has got some ideal places for putting a habitat. And so that's really if I had a druthers, that's where I would put the underwater habitat. Put it shallow and put it there for the get-go. Hey, Brian, glad you jumped in here, man. Brian says islands in the Philippines are around 1 million, as well as some in Florida around that price and below. Yeah, I know it's surprising that they're not. I mean, that sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not that much money for your own private island. And then there's some you can even buy like shares off of an island for a whole lot cheaper than that too. Marty says the water there is so clear. I'm assuming you're talking about the Philippines or Florida. The Philippines, definitely. I guess it depends on where you're at in Florida. Yeah. So anyway, that was all my notes I had, and I'm sure there was, when I was writing my notes up, I had a thought. I forgot to write it down, so I forgot what it is now too. Yeah, Mexico as well. Marty says is clear. Yeah, depending on where you're at in Mexico too. Whether it be Cozumel or something along those lines, getting right with those resorts and stuff along those lines too.
What was one we've been talking about? Bon Air.
Yeah, Bon Air, which is down off of Venezuela.
Yeah. We've been looking at stuff around that area, and yeah, they have a lot. Based off the pictures, it's very pretty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, once again, and that's why Ocean Builders is down there off of Panama too, because of lack of hurricanes, which is another concern when building underwater habitats, is we have to dig deep enough to not make that a concern, or be in an area where hurricanes are not that active. So definitely not
being sure you're anchored very well. And
yeah, because I say like Aquarius took damage when that hurricane a few years ago, that big one that went by, I don't know what it's called, but it shifted it, I guess, and damaged one of the pods outside. So I mean, and it's at
Pod
66
6?
feet. Yeah, pod 6. It's 66 feet in water, so and it took damage there. So even though not much. Marty says, and make wave and current breaking reefs. Yeah. Ron's got, you would want some place that's politically stable and amicable to doing that sort of thing. Yeah, that's my only concern with Bonaire because it's so close to Venezuela and their government isn't the most stable. And that's why I'm really surprised, that Fabian's looking at Curacao yeah, I think that's how you say it, which is right there too, and right off the coast of Venezuela. But once again, it's got beautiful water there, so that's a big thing. So that's why Belize is fairly safe bet. Honduras, they're doing a lot of good work down there too. So that's why those governments are pretty stable for the most part. Mexico, I don't have a real big love of Mexico for any real reason, but from a business standpoint, I'll put my years of bias. I have to drive through that country aside.
Well, like I mentioned on the last live stream, it's like a lot of these Central American countries, a huge chunk of their economy is tourism. So like they're gonna want to welcome something like that. I mean, that's why, on our list that we're working on, we have we're trying to work on contacts with like departments of tourism in different countries because that's going to be a key factor in a lot of things.
Yeah. And like Ron says, the Mexican drug cartels, they run the country.
Might be a good way to make some money for the ASC is to be.
That's it. That's it.
Cocaine smugglers.
Smuggling them. Yeah. No, I don't think
apparently
so.
They've already been trying to do submarines. I don't know if you guys saw that a few months ago.
They've got multiple ones, yeah.
Yeah, they built their own submarines to try to smuggle this stuff.
Yep.
You got to give them credit for being innovative, I guess.
Yes. They got the money to do that.
Pablo Escobar's in one of the Atlantic Sea colony habitats.
Absolutely not.
Had he been alive. He's dead, right?
ASC Stash House. Yeah, that's our marketing ploy right there. Yeah, Ron's loving that too.
Hey, you got something you don't want the ATF to find? Atlantic Sea colonies.
However, you could have giant, hot houses down there since it is legal in most places and grow a bunch of pods full of marijuana down there.
Or any other kind of plant, Brendan. God.
I'm saying from a financial standpoint, you can resell that for a higher value. They can't like carrots.
That's true.
Marty says, with my background, the cartels might have a long talk with me. Too late. I already posted them, Marty. Don't say something live if you don't want me to post it.
If we don't hear from Marty in a while, it's our own fault, I guess.
All right, guys. Well, hey, we'll stick around here for a few minutes, but people will have other stuff they want to talk about.
If anybody has any other questions, for those of you that don't have me on Facebook, I was telling Brendan this is like something that really inspired me, or like helped reignite a lot of the inspiration in what we're doing. Is that a couple weekends ago, not this last weekend, but the weekend before, my family and I, we went to.
Ron says it's called experimental horticulture.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm not opposed to it. It could definitely help fund Atlantic Sea Colony.
But at the Omaha Zoo, they have one of those aquariums that you can walk through. And I took like a little video of that. But it was just so cool. I love every time that we go there, being able to go through that. And it's just like, that's the vision. That's something that's like, it'd be so cool to be able to experience that, like, without 100 people right next to you. Like, like you can just kind of be able to just, be amongst it.
Yeah. I there's nothing that doesn't bring me more joy than thinking about waking up to that outside my window.
Sorry, I was trying to. There's the scuba diver that was cleaning some of those aquariums. That's pretty cool.
I actually looked into, when I lived in Illinois, to moving to Chicago and being a diver in the Shed Aquarium to do that, but I never did.
That would be such a cool job.
I think so too. I thought so too.
I wonder if they get paid well.
I didn't pursue it very far.
Sorry, I keep trying to turn the volume off. And while I was there, I was trying to do some trying to observe some of the glass and stuff, because Brendan messaged me. He's like, "How thick's that glass?" I'm like, "Well," I'm like, "I think," but I guess that's all I thought I had another one. Oh well. Anyways, yeah, fun time. Like I said, it's cool to be able to I don't know, be able to that's all I could think about while I was there. I'm just like, man, this is the goal, is to be able to do this.
Ron's got it. Our brand would call it Davy Jones Locker. Now I can't use that because you came up with that thing. But
what about Mary Jane's Locker?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Our idea is better, Brendan.
Glenn says that most of the divers in aquariums are volunteers. I did not know that. That's probably why I didn't.
Really?
Marty's like Newport is like that too. Yeah, there's more and more. I know the Shed Aquarium recently within the past 10 years added a whole entire shark section where you can do that and stuff as well.
You were a volunteer diver at one of. Is that what he's?
Oops, I took it away. Sorry.
Right.
Sorry. yeah. So first, Marty, you say you were a volunteer diver. Is that what you're saying? And then Ron, you can build from acrylic. Check with someone who builds designs. So yeah, I've been trying to get a hold. Actually, I've been trying to get a hold of one of those aquarium companies. Somebody did hit me up on LinkedIn, and they do acrylic for Triton submarines, I think it was. I need to look back. He shot me an email. We talked for a little bit. So yeah, that's something I should maybe look into a little more. And Marty was Disney's at the Living Seas.
He corrected at the Living Seas.
Yeah. Huh.
It was something that
when were you there? What years were you there?
And it's one of those things I got to thinking is maybe next year, because I like to go to that zoo every year, take my family there. Maybe if I got a hold of them ahead of time, be like, hey, is there a way that I could get, observe some of your stuff, maybe behind the scenes a little bit, and this is what we're trying to do, and I don't know, maybe get some inside info on how they built it or who they had helped build it, and because all that would be helpful. Yeah,
maybe I will. That's a good idea. Because one thing I had thought too was if it was cheap, once again it depends on the cost and stuff like that, was to make an acrylic box pretty much, and then cover the acrylic with the areas you want covered up, like the bathroom and stuff along those lines, externally. So it's almost all window, and you just cover up the areas that you don't want being seen from the outside too.
Oh, you don't protect have to have it. Bathroom.
I mean, you don't have to water. Nobody's going to care.
Except for the scuba diver. It's
yeah. Marty says after the Navy hitch, I was lockout chamber, demo, and fish feeder. Huh. Very cool.
I wonder if the reason maybe they volunteer is because I got to assume that probably counts as a dive, and
True.
So maybe they're just this is a good way to
I was there in '88, I think it was when I was there. Were you there? I was only
30.
10. It was not 30 and 88. So yeah. Stupid. Glenn says if you show them your credentials, all the coins allow behind the scenes tours.
When you put quotation marks around it, you could
the credentials.
Anyway, if I brought a gun, let me see the fish.
And what credentials do you have to have there? Yeah. Marty says I marked it as a log, as a dive, and time at death. What?
What? Marked it as a dive and time of death. And death.
Ron says some places do hire maintenance divers, paid but not well.
I gotta assume it would probably be a part-time thing, just because.
Yeah, it is. It's more for people who just want to do it for the experiential love, just love diving.
When we were there this last time, there was like.
Brave says the Benjamin credentials.
Yeah. When we were there the last time, there was like 3 scuba divers that were coming out of the penguin exhibit, which was crazy because they have like a big section in the front there. Well, hold on, I still have the video pulled up here, but like this penguin exhibit right here. Oh crap, hold on, try it. Oh, sorry, I guess I don't have it, but anyways, like you see all this water it's a big area. But yeah, like when we were there, like over towards the left, there was like 3 scuba divers that were coming out as we got to the exhibit. So I don't know. I don't know why they need a team of people there, but even that would be cool, just being able to be surrounded by a bunch of penguins and stuff.
Yeah. Glenn says your info on Atlanta Sea Colony, your resume to visit sort of thing. Yeah. Do you know who I am? Do you know who you're talking to? Rod says somebody has to clean up the poop. Yeah. That's a lot of penguins you saw in the picture. That's a lot of penguins they have in there. It's
probably
a constant job. Because if you didn't think how disgusting that place would be.
Yeah.
You don't have a real environment.
I think it would be fun because I think I'd be more amused by just being surrounded by the penguins and stuff, even though I'm cleaning up poop. Like, it's different than your dogs, like when you're outside cleaning up poop after your dogs are still like just doing stupid stuff, but it's like penguins though, and like other like, if you like had sea turtles swimming around you, that would be cool.
Maybe you missed your calling in life, Adam.
Professional marine poop cleaner.
And Glenn says, and penguin poop is nasty.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it's bird poop.
Yeah. And they're big birds.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I could only imagine what it actually smells like on the other side of that glass.
I don't want to have my gear on at all time.
Maybe that's why. Maybe a couple of them weren't actually diving. Maybe they just had the stuff on.
Yeah, this is smell.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think we're winding it down here. Thank you, man. It's been a good night. It's really lots of questions. Really good interaction. Thank you very much for all the questions and comments and knowledge too.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with needing to breathe underwater. It's just in case you smell something funny.
Yeah, Marty says that's why divers wear masks. But yeah, no, Ron, thank you very much for your input. You've been hot on the topic, and I very much appreciate all your input.
Absolutely.
You've got years more knowledge in this arena than I do, and I value your input. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a fun night. Brendan, you want to pull up the Discord link quick?
Glenn's like, nice to see and hear from you guys again. Ron Peters is a great addition. I agree. Good to have you in here too, Glenn. It has been a while.
I'll run through as we're kind of winding down here. We got Discord. A lot of cool stuff going on. Have a lot of discussion going on. Also, we kind of have maybe next time we'll get the link ready. But the Seasteading Institute has their own Discord. And we have they
will appear in a second too.
Create a section about Atlanta Sea Colony on their Discord. So that was really cool of them.
So they've always had one, but they got their own, but it was always owned by somebody else.
Yeah, there's one that's on the topic of.
Bye, Ron. Thank you very much.
And now, but it wasn't ran by the Seasteading Institute.
Correct.
So
correct.
They made the decision to create one specifically for like the Seasteading Institute. But yeah, so like I said, it's been very kind that they have like a section for other projects going on out there in the world, and they have a section for us. So obviously just working with Carly Jackson is always a pleasure. She's great to work with.
Here's the link for the Seasteading Discord that I just threw in.
Oh, okay, awesome. So yeah, Brendan's posting the link to the Discord for them too. Yeah, go check them out. They have a lot of good discussion and everything going on their side too. So if you're already a part of our Discord, go to that link and join theirs as well. AtlanticSeaColony.com, guys. As per usual, actually means I have the thing set up. Let me just share it with you guys. AtlanticSeaColony.com. When you're there, you can go to our social media tab, and that'll get you to all of our social medias. We got Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. There's our Discord link right there, our YouTube, podcast, and the TikTok. All those crazy kids and their TikToks. Obviously, ours aren't us dancing or lip syncing to things, but we do post some stuff on there. Brendan,
if we let Marty take control, they would be.
Yeah, well, we're going to let Marty do some dancing and all that. Also, AtlanticSeaColony.com/merch. That's right there on our page too. Actually, I'm going to back up real quick just because I always like to shout it out. The resources page, there's podcasts that you can listen to. The Seasteading Today, about a month ago now, about 3 weeks ago, give or take, Brendan's episode with them came out. So check them out. They just had someone from the Ocean Builders on there a couple weeks ago. So yeah, check them out over there. A lot of cool podcasts right over here. Also some books, YouTube channels. There's some live underwater cams too. If there's something that you guys think of, send it to me or Brendan. And if there's good podcasts or books or something like that, just let us know and we'll probably throw it up there for you. Sorry, back to the merch thing. Talking about maybe some changes in the future here.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yep.
But until then, you can still go to the AtlanticSeaColony.com/merch. Find some cool gear over there. I've talked about it last time. We have these Aquanaut. That's the new kind of design, is these Aquanaut ones. And if you have a baby coming,
it's not the newest design. You keep on saying it's not the newest design.
Which one is the newest design?
The Atlantic Sea Colony, the vertical Atlantic Sea Colony.
On the joggers?
No, on the shirts and everything else like that. It's on the shirts.
Why am I not seeing that one?
It's black. It's probably that one right there.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, why is it only showing the back? We need to fix that. Anyways, sorry. It's the Aquanaut.
No, you're fine. I give you a hard time about it.
Second to last newest design. Anyways, so check out all that stuff. Like I said, we're going to have some changes in the future that might have some different options and
I think some better options too.
Better options, yeah. So Brendan is working on that, doing some comparing and making sure he's got everything figured out with that. Partnerships. Is this the one? Yes. Partnerships. This is where we'll talk about. So we do the PayPal. If you want to do a one-time donation to help us out, we greatly appreciate that. You can go to the website, click this PayPal. That'll send you to paypal.me/Atlantic Sea Colony. And you can send whatever dollar amount you want. If you just want to make a one-time donation, appreciate it. We also have the Patreon. You can do the patreon.com/Atlantic Sea Colony. We got our patrons there. At the Shark tier, we have Edward Haas and Brian Acosta. At the Octopus tier, we have Matthew Cathy. And at the Manta tier, we have Martin Reese, S. Babe Hyde, and yours truly right there. So thank you all the patrons for helping us out there. But yeah, so that's like a monthly basis thing. Wondering, will it pop up? I never have the thing, but we have the 3 different tiers that you can.
Yeah. But
we have special discussions and stuff on there, special live streams.
And we probably need to have one this Saturday. Honestly, we're due for one.
Yeah, we try to around this time, the third, basically kind of like the third weekend of the month, we try to do a Patreon exclusive live stream. So it's a good way to do that and be a part of that. Other than that, I don't have anything else to throw in there. Like we said, guys, check out the oceanbuilders.com website. Check out all the stuff they have going on. Brendan posted the link earlier to that video, their demo video that they have. Check out the Discords, both ours and the Seasteading Institute's. And yeah, I'm assuming we'll probably be back in another 2 weeks, right?
Probably.
Yeah, it seems to that's kind of our pace now. It's like every other week we do one. And then, like we said, we do the once a week Patreon only live stream.
Once a month.
What did I just say?
Once a week.
once a month. Live stream there. So once again, guys, thanks for coming in. It was a fun night. We had a lot of good discussion, had a lot of presentation. So
makes me feel good when we get this many people in here and get this dialogue going.
Yeah, having some solid discussion, having a good time. So until next time, thank you guys for joining. Stay safe and have fun.